I'm going to do the $1 Million Theater.
Oh, I went there. It's very nice.
Yeah, it is. I wish I had gone in there, but
I think UCLA has that film thing there where they'll like play a movie once a month, and we saw the Sam Fuller double feature there. It was really nice in there.
The $1 Million Theater, well, it wasn't called that yet. It was Sid Grauman's first theater in LA.
That's a horrible name for a theater.
It's not much better, the real original name of it. So it opened February 1st, 1918 with the premiere of The Silent Man.
Okay.
And in attendance were the likes of Charlie Chaplin, Hal Roach, Cecil B. DeMille, and Lillian Gish.
Ooh.
It was originally called Grauman's Theater.
Boy,
yeah.
He really knocked
it was
it really
edgy at that time. It was called that until 1922 when it was renamed to reflect how much it cost to construct. $1 billion.
The price of an average ticket there.
It's located on Broadway and 3rd. And the building, which was the Laughlin Block, and this is the third library connection of the night, that also was a temporary home of the library.
On Laughlin Block?
Laughlin Block, yeah.
I didn't know that. Maybe I should listen to the podcast. Maybe I should listen to the podcast.
That's when you left in the middle of the podcast.
I thought you said Laughlin.
The Laughlin Block was owned by Homer Laughlin, who also owned the Grand Central Market. That's where the giant rat now slumbers under a pile of pupusas. There's 12 stories of offices above the theater, and the one on the top floor belonged to William Mulholland.
Is that right?
Who's the guy that ran the Metropolitan Water District. The Metropolitan Walla Water District.
The Walla District.
Which was the precursor to the DWP, and he's the guy that was the inspiration for the movie Chinatown. Yeah. So that's where all of LA's water wars happened, when everyone was on the street with super soakers. So many lives
so
lost.
Much death.
Some wounds never dried. The theater itself was the first theater palace built specifically for movies, and it had an orchestration pit that extended halfway up the stage to show off the musicians that were accompanying the movies, but that only lasted until 1922 when the pit caught on fire during a show.
Not funny?
It's funny now. So then it got rebuilt in a normal way, so we can't see those disgusting musicians playing.
God.
The projection room also had doors made of steel and asbestos to prevent fires and keep everyone there nice and safe and healthy. It can seat 2,345 people in there, and the theater had a deal to show the Paramount/Famous Players Lasky movies, but Sid Grauman, being the showman that he was, it became known for its lavish premieres of movies and the shows that would be put on before the movies started. Grauman started doing this sort of thing just a year after the theater opened. He called them prologues that would be before the films, and they were just like various live shows and events. They even had like big fashion shows that would go on before a movie, which sounds really fun.
Doesn't it?
That's the only time I would watch a fashion show, if they were showing The Brave Little Toaster afterwards. These shows lasted until the late 1920s when talkies came along, and they didn't, that was enough. That wowed people enough. Yeah. Grauman perfected the art of his prologues at the Chinese theater when he started having movie stars put their hands and feet in cement out front of the theater before the premieres. So that's how that started.
Have you seen Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell when they did Gentlemen Prefer Blondes when they did it?
No.
It's pornographic. Sorry. I just want every time
cement everywhere. So like we talked about before, Grauman sold his stake in the $1 Million Theater. He was just hawking steaks everywhere. He would have prologues before the show, then the movie, and then afterwards you would have to buy a seasoned steak from him.
Steaks for the board.
Get your official Grauman steak with Marilyn Monroe's handprint in it.
Don't ask how she did it.
The other downtown theaters that he had stakes in were also the Rialto and the Metropolitan. So he got out of it and he left for Hollywood. And from there, this theater changed hands a few times, including being owned by Fox West Coast. But the government wasn't happy about this because of all the scrutiny that movie studios were getting for owning theaters at this time. Led to them having to sell it off as part of the antitrust acts that they imposed. But then in 1935, it was bought by the Harry Popkins Circle Theaters Company, who turned it into a place that put on stage shows, and they showed also second-run films. So in the 40s, it started to focus more housing jazz and big band, like Lionel Hampton was there, Billie Holiday, Dizzy Gillespie. And then in 1945, it got leased by Metropolitan Theaters, who at this time, they were doing vaudeville shows at the Orpheum, which you're going to talk about. And for some reason, they decided to bring vaudeville to the $1 Million and then do the first-run movies at the Orpheum instead.
Right.
And then in the 50s, the theater got subleased to Frank Foos, Fuji. He started showing the Spanish language films, and he was putting on Mexican vaudeville shows.
Okay.
But then Fuji died in '69, so his son, who just died last year, took over, and he continued on with the Spanish language tradition. So the Spanish stuff, that lasted until 1993 when the theater closed and became the Universal Church. And then the church left in 1998, and then back comes the Spanish language movies.
Right.
But that only lasted a year, and then they closed again and became another church. And then eventually that church closed, and in 2005, the theater got $1 million makeover, which is why they now call it the $1 Million Makeover Theater. And then in February 2008, it reopened for concerts and to occasionally show old movies, like we were saying. It's also, you can see it in the background of Blade Runner a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the Bradbury Building's right across the street.
Oh, that's right.
So